everybody, I'm Dawn. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for visiting with me today. So today I wanted to talk about our family's cancer journey, or well, my son having cancer, because we have a scare going on right now, so it kind of brought everything up. So I thought I would talk about it here. Now, I've kind of told this story on this channel before, but it was long ago, so I thought we'd do it again. So Marshall is my son. He's 25 years old. When he was 7 months old, he was diagnosed with cancer, neuroblastoma. It's a solid tumor cancer of the sympathetic nervous system. It was in his right abdomen, and it was attached to his liver and kidney. So how we found it was, I was feeding him one day, and for some reason, I had this feeling in me that there was something wrong with him. He seemed very healthy, never had any issues, but for some reason, I felt like there was something wrong. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. And so one day I was feeding him, and I picked him up to burp him, and when I picked him up, I felt in his abdomen this bump, large, and maybe the size of a softball, that I did not feel before. And I believe like the night before and the night before that, I noticed his stomach seemed a little distended, and we were pressing on it and stuff, but we didn't notice this hard lump until this particular day. And I didn't have a car or a way to get to the doctor. I actually didn't drive yet. So I called my best friend, and I said, hey, can you do me a favor? And I asked her if she could drive us to the doctor, and she did. And we go in there, and the doctor is examining him, and she was concerned. So, and my husband met us at the doctor's office when he got off of work, and she sent us to the hospital. And when we got into we went to one hospital first, and when we went there, they were trying to get a vein and stuff, and they couldn't find a vein, and he started developing like a bruise under his eye. And he wasn't hit or anything. He just started developing this bruise under his eye. And they really had a hard time finding the vein. They just couldn't find one. And he was crying and upset because they kept sticking him over and over again. So I just said, just stop. And they put him up in a room at this hospital, and these two interns come in a little while later, and one of them, I didn't like her attitude, and this intern ended up being an ER doctor several years later at the hospital I worked with, and she remains to have a terrible bedside manner, but that's another story. When she came in, I asked, why he was getting that black eye, and she was, because he's anemic. And she gave me this attitude. She said, what are you feeding him? And I said, well, he's mostly breastfed. She said, well, that's not enough. She was really nasty to me. And I'm like, well, that's not why we're here. Him being breastfed is not what landed him in the hospital. So can you get me an actual doctor? And she that took her aback. And I'm like, no, I'm not talking to you anymore. Can you get me a real doctor? And she went and got, not that an intern isn't a real doctor, but they're really not. And then the doctor came in, and I said, so what's the plan? And they were sending us to Wolfson, which is the children's hospital. So they sent us over in an ambulance and took us to Wolfson, and we had some family there because everybody was concerned. And I can't remember exactly. I can't remember if we checked into the ER or what, but all I remember is we were on the elevator, and we were taken to the 5th floor, and when the elevator doors open, the first thing we see is the Ronald McDonald House room. Like, there's a room there, and I was like, that is not a good sign. So we get put in a room a little while later. We have interns and doctors and everybody visiting us. It's getting late at night by this point. And they let us know what was going on and everything. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that was pretty much a sleepless night. And then the next day, they ran tests and stuff, and the doctor came in. One of the pediatric oncologists came in and told us it's cancer, but they weren't sure if it was a Wilms tumor or a neuroblastoma. They said that if it's got to be cancer, we want it to be a Wilms tumor, but it can be neuroblastoma. It ended up being neuroblastoma. So obviously I'm devastated by this news. I'm crying. I'm like holding my baby and just, what are we going to do? And I mean, this is just obviously the worst news a parent can hear, or some of the worst news a parent can hear. And so yeah, and at the time I didn't know what an oncologist was. I didn't know what an oncologist was until when one of the interns came in the room and said, the oncologist is going to come see you in the morning. And I'm like, what is an oncologist? And he just kind of put his head down and said, it's a cancer doctor. Like he didn't want to look at me. And I was going to like just talk to my sister, because my sister would have known what that was. But I was just like, shit. God. And honestly, even though it was this huge lump and he was getting this bruising under his eye, it didn't even occur to me that it could be something so serious until it was confirmed that it was. And so when they're doing all these tests on him, because they ran a multitude of tests, and one of the tests they did an ultrasound of the tumor. I was in the room with him, and I'm operating on absolutely zero sleep. And I'm looking up at the screen as they're doing the ultrasound. And I swear to you, and I'm not a religious person, but I swear to you, what I saw threw me for a loop a little bit. It looked like a demon rising its head. And remember, I'm operating on no sleep, so that probably had a lot to do with this. And it looked like a demon's mouth coming out of the screen, and then all of a sudden the arms open, and then it looked like Jesus on the cross. And I was like, wow. And for some reason, I had a little bit of peace after that. And I don't remember if it was that night. It could have been a couple nights later. I had another dream where Marshall was getting treatment. But then we had a window, and through the window, it was like an interrogation room, like in Special Victims Unit. There was me and the devil, and I just started singing, "He's got the whole world in his hands," to the devil. The devil got up and started running away, and I started running after him, screaming it at him. It was weird, but yeah, it was. And I feel like those were directly related to what we were going through. And again, I'm not a religious person, but it just felt like I was getting a message. And so we were at the hospital for about 2 weeks. They hadn't started treatment yet, or had they? No, I think they did start treatment, but then they sent us home for the weekend, and were going to bring us back on the following Monday. So when we got home, the internet was just now becoming a thing. This was 1999, and my dumb ass decided to get on the internet and start searching neuroblastoma, and it was horrific what I was reading. I was very upset because he was diagnosed with stage 4 neuroblastoma, but they had told me that if they're under 1 year old, it's automatically a stage 4. It doesn't matter where it's, how far along it is. But he actually was stage 4 with marrow involvement, meaning it was affecting his bone marrow. So yeah, it sucked. And I wanted to show you some pictures if I could find them. And all these people are okay with me sharing their pictures if there's people in the pictures. But so this is him. I hope there's not too much of a glare. That's him in the hospital. They had like a day bed there for like a window seat, but it was a bed for parents to sleep in. And I don't know if you can tell, his tummy right here is really swollen. That's the tumor. But there he is with his dad, and there he is with me. Because the first thing they did was place a port, and I think that was when he got his port. And there's Dad in the hospital with him. And there he is in his crib at the hospital. I was a terrible scrapbooker, so my scrapbooking skills were not that great, so these aren't going to look that good. Now, he didn't have the tumor taken out until I'm not sure how long it was, but it was after, several months after chemo. And it was the first round of chemo, the very first round of chemo he got. Oh! Shit. Damn it. Sorry, everything decided to go start flying. So the first round of chemo he got, the very next day, we noticed the tumor had shrunk significantly. I didn't know if that was really a good sign. I mean, I knew it was a good sign. It wasn't a bad sign, but I didn't know if it was an improved sign, like a sign that his prognosis, because they couldn't give us an idea of his prognosis at the time. But it was several months before he had his tumor removed. And then this is him right here after his tumor was removed. My sweet boy. This is such a sweet angel. I can't believe he's 25 years old now. And it was really funny because in these pictures, he still got the epidural. Okay. And I have a pretty bad memory, but I remember a lot of this cancer journey. But it was like within 5 minutes of having the epidural removed, he was like energetic and all over the place. I'm like, he had an incision this long on him. It wasn't slowing him down. Once the epidural came out, he perked right up. And let me show you some more hospital pictures. And he never really, except in that the picture of him after his operation, he never behaved like a cancer patient because they're little tiny children. They don't know they're supposed to be sick. He was so full of energy. He ripped several stents out. I think they're called stents because of his rambunctiousness. But there he is in the hospital right here and here, and there he is again. Look at that face. And there he is chilling on the bed. So cute. Such a cutie patootie. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm going kind of slow. So I just want to make sure I paint a clear picture for you. Any more pictures? Here's when he met Goldberg. Goldberg's family owns Wolfson or they're the founders of Wolfson Children's Hospital in some way. I'm not exactly sure how that worked, but Goldberg, the wrestler, has something to do with that hospital. And he frequently visited the hospital or came to events with the kids at it. So yeah. Yeah. I think that's it for the pictures. What else? Oh, some advice if you're given a cancer diagnosis or a loved one is given a cancer diagnosis. Stay off the internet as far as the cancer goes, or take all the information with a grain of salt, because your experience is going to be, there is no two experiences with cancer that are exactly alike. And what's really sad, the type of cancer he had, boys are more likely to survive from it. They have a better mortality. Is it boys or girls? I think it's boys have a better, no, I think it's girls that have a better mortality rate from it, which is really interesting because of the people we've met up there whose children had neuroblastoma. The girls are no longer with us, and which is so sad. It's so terrible to think about. And the boys, come to think about it, I think all of the children we met that had the same cancer as Marshall succumbed to the illness. Oh, that's sad. But I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, stay off the internet or take everything with a grain of salt, because like I said, no two experiences are the same. And don't exploit your child in an attempt to get freebies and things like that. There was one parent, her child was just, I don't know, it seemed almost like a Dee Dee Blanchard type situation where she was pushed into things, like pushed to be, oh, you want to get your picture taken here, you want to do this, you want to do that. And I don't know, it was just, she got a lot of special treatment, and I'm not jealous of that. It just seemed like she was putting a lot of pressure on this child to kind of be on for the cameras. It was very odd, because we were very private with Marshall. Like, yeah, he had his picture taken at a lot of events and stuff, but we pretty much tried to protect him from all that. Like, there was no reason for him to be on the cover of all their cancer newsletters and stuff. We just, you know, he was in the paper and stuff for a couple things, but, you know, nothing too out of hand. Excuse me, I keep burping. What else can I tell you about his cancer? Oh, so after his surgery, he continued to get chemo for several more months, and then so he was diagnosed in July 22nd, 1999. He was diagnosed on mine and Eric's 5-year anniversary of the day we met. So that was 1999. So July 99, January 2000, he had a surgery, and then that summer, around August 2000, he went into the hospital for a stem cell transplant. And between, you know, from the time the diagnosis to the stem cell transplant, he was getting multiple bone marrow biopsies, and then it was finally time for his stem cell transplant. They used his own stem cells. They harvested his stem cells because, yes, his bone marrow had the neuroblastoma in them, but the stem cells did not. And so they used his stem cells for the... Tina? Sorry. They used his stem cells for the stem cell transplant, and it's pretty much like a bone marrow transplant. They basically give him a ton of chemo that just destroys his bone marrow, and they were telling us, we don't want you to worry, he's going to be in like a near-death-like state. We don't want it to worry you, though. We're going to take very good care of him. And he was fine. He did fine. There was one particular chemo he got that burnt the skin when it came out in his sweat. So they had to give him a bath every 2 hours, even during the night. And I woke up in the middle of the night to the nurses giving him a bath, and he's just giggling, having a good old time. He was never brought down by this cancer or the chemo. Nothing slowed him down, and he is so cute. But yeah, and then when they finally gave him his stem cells, he was then the stem cells smelled like garlic and creamed corn. It was really strange. It's the preservatives they use. But yeah, he got his stem cells. He was expected to be in the hospital for 30 days. And I believe we were there for just 3 weeks. And then we were sent home, and he was given IV nutrition and stuff. And they wanted us to keep them up to date on how he was eating and stuff. And the day we got him home, he was eating. They were like, it's going to be a slow process. He's not going to want to eat much. This kid was eating. He was ready for food. And he just did well. He did really good. And so they even took him off of the IV nutrition pretty early. And he did have home health care come, and and I still have his port. Let me see if I can find that to show you. Yeah. Oh Jesus, I gotta straighten this room out. Maybe I'll do it on Sunday. Let me see if we still got his. I mean, we still have it. I'm just not sure where it is. I mean, I'm sure all of you know what a port looks like, but we kept it though. I told him I said, can we keep the port? And that port cost more than our house at the time. Can we keep it? Well, I don't have it in here. It's somewhere. But yeah, we kept his port. And they gave it to us too. And I can't think of anything else. He had so many surgeries. So he had surgery to place the port. I believe he had 2 surgeries for that because he had to get a second port after the first one failed. And he had the tumor resection, and he had multiple biopsies. And then the stem cell harvest was worse than the biopsies because it's 2 sides in the back and 2 sides in the front in the hips to get that. And so that took a little recovery for him. And what else did he have? The stem cell transplant. He had tons of chemotherapy, just so much. But and then after the cancer was gone, after the stem cell transplant, they checked him again, I think maybe 2 months later, and the cancer had returned, but in very small amounts. And they went after it very aggressively, and they got it. They got rid of the cancer finally, and he kept going back for checks, for biopsies and scans and stuff for the next 2 or 3 years after the formal cancer treatment. I guess that's the way I would say it. After that cancer treatment ended, he went back for about 3 years for biopsies and stuff, and then they were like, yeah, it's looking good. We don't think there's going to be any problems. And he was seen once a year for a couple years, and now he's 25 years old, and we're worried now because he's developed this bump on his foot, and he had an ultrasound. At first they said it was a cyst, but his primary care doctor was like, that's not a cyst. And so she ordered an ultrasound, and after the ultrasound they decided to order an MRI, and the MRI report was not our favorite. because it's definitely a tumor. Whether it's cancerous or not, they don't know yet. So he went to a specialist today, and so she is sending him to another specialist, and they got a boot on it right now to stabilize it, and they're gonna want to biopsy it. They're gonna want to remove it and send it to pathology, and that should all take place hopefully within the next month. We just next week we should hear from the specialist, and so we've got that stuff going on. So we have an appointment with the specialist coming up, who they may want to go ahead and have it removed before the specialist looks at them, because he might want to just go ahead and get those results before then. And then, which I don't understand why they didn't just go ahead and order that. I guess it's insurance. It's always freaking insurance causing problems. I want to know how many people have died waiting on insurance to pull their heads out of their butts. I'm sorry, I'm really down on insurance. But, so the doctor he saw today thinks that they'll have her remove it and have it sent to pathology before this doctor will see him, because there's no point in him seeing the doctor if he doesn't have any results to look at. But yeah, that's it. That's our story. I know this wasn't a really enjoyable story, but I hope you learned something from it. If you have any questions regarding the cancer, don't hesitate to ask. I will try my best to answer them. And I'm going to go, but I will talk to everyone later. Bye.